Welcome to my channel Bookish English. I am Ariel, and today something is about to change the way you see your own voice. You have been feeling it for a long time, that hesitation, that silence, that moment when everything stops inside you. But what you are about to discover in this video will shift something deep, and once you see it, you cannot go back to the old version of yourself. Don't miss this. Subscribe to my channel Bookish English to stay connected with me and never miss new video updates. And stay till the end, because this could be the moment everything changes for you. Chapter 1. The Silent Fear. Inside, there is a moment that almost every English learner knows, and maybe you have felt it more times than you can count. You are standing in front of someone who speaks English fluently, maybe a foreigner, maybe someone you admire, and suddenly your heart starts beating faster than normal. Your mind feels full and empty at the same time. You know words, you understand sentences, you have studied English for months or even years, yet when it is your turn to speak, your voice does not come out the way you expected. It becomes slow, broken, or completely silent. In that moment, you are not just struggling with English, you are struggling with yourself. This feeling is not rare, and it is not a personal failure. It is a silent fear that lives inside millions of learners around the world. You might think that you are the only one who feels this way, but the truth is that almost every confident English speaker you see today once stood exactly where you are standing right now. They also felt nervous. They also made mistakes. They also stayed silent when they wanted to speak. The difference is not that they were fearless. The difference is that they learned how to move forward even with fear inside them. When you try to speak English with a foreigner, your brain does something very interesting. It goes into protection mode. It starts asking questions very fast. What if I make a mistake? What if they laugh? What if they do not understand me? What if I say something wrong? These questions come so quickly that they block your ability to speak naturally. Your brain is trying to protect you from embarrassment, but in doing so, it stops you from growing. This is why you freeze. This is why your voice shakes. This is why you feel stuck even though you know more than you think. The truth that no one tells you clearly is this. You are not afraid of English. You are afraid of judgment. You are not afraid of words. You are afraid of how people will react to those words. This fear is emotional, not educational. That means you do not fix it by learning more grammar rules. You fix it by changing how you see yourself when you speak. Think about this for a moment. When a child learns to speak, they do not worry about mistakes. They say words in the wrong way. They mix sentences. They repeat the same things again and again. People smile at them. People encourage them. Over time, they improve naturally. Now compare that with what you do. You stop yourself before speaking. You check every word in your mind. You try to be perfect. You judge yourself even before anyone else can. That is why your progress feels slow and painful. You have been trained to believe that speaking English means speaking correctly all the time, but that belief is not only wrong, it is harmful. Speaking English means expressing your idea in a way that someone can understand. It does not mean perfect grammar. It does not mean perfect pronunciation. It means connection. When you understand this deeply, something inside you begins to change. The pressure becomes lighter. The fear becomes smaller. The voice inside you becomes stronger. Right now, your problem is not that you cannot speak. Your problem is that you are stopping yourself from speaking. There is a big difference between these two ideas. When you say I cannot speak, you feel powerless. When you say I am stopping myself, you realize that you have control. And once you have control, you can change your action. Imagine a different version of yourself. You are still nervous, but you decide to speak anyway. Your sentence is not perfect, but it is clear. The other person understands you. They respond. A small conversation begins. That moment is not just a conversation, it is a breakthrough. It is the moment where fear loses its power over you. It is the moment where you stop being a silent learner and start becoming a real speaker. You do not need to remove fear completely before you speak. That is a mistake many learners make. They wait to feel confident first, but confidence does not come before action. Confidence comes after action. You speak, then you feel better. You try again, then you feel stronger. Step by step, your fear starts losing its control over you. There is something very important you must understand right now. Your silence is not protecting you. It is limiting you. Every time you choose not to speak, you are telling your brain that silence is safer than growth. Over time, this becomes a habit. You start avoiding situations where you could speak. You stay in your comfort zone. You feel safe, but you do not improve. That is why breaking this pattern is so important. You are not here to stay silent. You are here to express yourself. You are here to connect with people from different parts of the world. You are here to grow into someone who can speak with confidence and clarity. That journey does not start with perfect English. It starts with one simple decision, the decision to speak even when your voice feels weak. From this moment, you begin to see your fear differently. It is not your enemy. It is a sign that you are stepping outside your comfort zone. It is a sign that you are growing. Every time you feel nervous, it means you are doing something important. Instead of running away from that feeling, you start walking through it. And as you continue watching this video, something powerful is going to happen. You will not just learn how to talk to foreigners in English. You will learn how to change the way you see yourself as a speaker. You will move from silence to expression. You will move from fear to action. And slowly, step by step, you will become the person you once believed you could never be. This is not just a lesson. This is the beginning of your transformation. Chapter 2. You know more already. There is a belief that quietly controls your actions. And it sounds very simple, but it is extremely powerful. You tell yourself that you do not know enough English yet, so you wait. You wait to learn more words. You wait to understand more grammar. You wait to feel ready. While you are waiting, something important is happening. Your confidence is slowly going down, and your fear is slowly growing. This is not because you are weak. It is because you are following a belief that is not true. The truth is that you already know more English than you are using. And the gap between what you know and what you use is the real problem. Think about your own learning journey for a moment. You have learned basic words. You understand simple sentences. You can read and listen better than before. If someone speaks slowly, you can follow the idea. That means your brain already has enough material to create communication. The problem is not knowledge. The problem is trust. You do not trust your own English yet, so you keep it inside your mind instead of bringing it into real conversations. This is why you feel stuck even after learning for a long time. Many learners believe that speaking English requires big vocabulary and perfect grammar, but real communication works in a very different way. When two people talk, they are not trying to impress each other with difficult words. They are trying to understand each other with simple ideas. A sentence like "I am from Pakistan, and I like learning English" is not complex, but it is powerful because it is clear. You do not need advanced sentences to start speaking. You need simple sentences that you are not afraid to use. When you start using what you already know, something inside you begins to open. Let us be honest about something that you may not say out loud. Sometimes you know the sentence in your mind, but you still do not speak. You stop yourself and think that it is too simple, or maybe it is not correct. or maybe the other person will expect better English from you. That moment is very important because it shows the real barrier. The barrier is not language, it is self-judgment. You are trying to sound perfect instead of trying to be understood. When you shift your focus from perfection to connection, your speaking starts to change immediately. Imagine you meet a foreigner and you want to start a conversation. You do not need a long speech. You can say hello, how are you, where are you from, what do you do, or why are you here? These are small sentences, but they open the door to communication. When the other person responds, you listen and reply with simple words. You say yes, I understand, that is interesting, I also like this, or I am learning English. You are not trying to impress, you are trying to connect. That is how real conversations begin, and that is how your confidence starts growing. There is another mistake that keeps you stuck. You think that you must learn first and speak later, but this order is not correct for language growth. Learning and speaking must happen together. When you learn a new word or sentence, you should use it as soon as possible. If you keep it in your mind without using it, it becomes weak and disappears. When you use it in a real situation, it becomes strong and stays with you. This is why using your current knowledge is more important than waiting for new knowledge. You may feel that your English is broken, but broken English is still communication. When you say simple sentences with small mistakes, people can still understand you. Most foreigners are not judging you the way you imagine. Many of them appreciate your effort, because learning a new language is not easy. When they see you trying, they often respond with patience and support. The fear that they will laugh at you is usually much bigger in your mind than in reality. When you test this fear in real life, you often discover that it was not as strong as you believed. Now think about a different version of yourself. Instead of waiting to be perfect, you decide to use what you already know. You speak simple sentences. You repeat common phrases. You allow small mistakes. At first, your voice may feel uncertain, but after a few sentences, it becomes more natural. The conversation may be short, but it is real. That real experience gives you something that no book can give. It gives you confidence. That confidence becomes the foundation for your next conversation, and slowly, your speaking ability starts to grow. You already have the building blocks inside you. Words like I, you, we, go, come, like, want, need, and understand are not small, they are powerful tools. When you combine them, you can express many ideas. You can say, I want to learn more, I like this place, I understand a little, I need help, or I want to practice English. These sentences are simple, but they are enough to create real communication. When you realize this deeply, your fear begins to lose its power over you. The biggest change happens when you stop asking yourself, do I know enough? And start asking yourself, can I express this idea simply? This question is powerful because it moves your focus from knowledge to action. You are no longer waiting for the perfect moment. You are creating the moment with the words you already have. This shift is the beginning of real progress. Right now, you are closer to speaking than you think. You are not starting from zero. You are standing on a foundation that you have already built. The only thing left is to use it. When you take that step, even if it feels small, it creates a chain reaction. One sentence leads to another. One conversation leads to another. One small success leads to greater confidence. As you continue this journey, you will see that fluency is not a sudden jump. It is a gradual process that grows with every word you speak. You do not become confident by waiting. You become confident by using what you already have. And when you accept this truth, you unlock a new way of learning where every moment becomes an opportunity to speak, to connect, and to grow. You already know enough to begin. Now it is time to believe it and prove it to yourself. Chapter 3. Start with simple words. There is a moment when everything begins to change, and that moment is not when you learn a difficult word or understand a complex rule. That moment comes when you decide to speak using the simplest words you already have. Many learners wait for advanced English before they start real conversations, but this waiting creates distance between you and your goal. You think that simple words are not enough. Yet simple words are exactly how every real conversation begins. When you remove the pressure of sounding perfect, you give yourself permission to speak, and that permission is the first step toward fluency. You might feel that your sentences are too small, but small sentences are powerful when they are clear. When you say hello, how are you, where are you from, or what do you do, you are not just speaking words, you are opening a door. The other person hears you, understands you, and responds. That response gives you energy, and that energy helps you continue. This is how conversation grows. It does not start with long speeches. It starts with simple words that create connection. When you understand this deeply, you stop waiting and you start acting. Think about how you speak in your own language. You do not always use long or complicated sentences. You often speak in short ideas that come naturally to your mind. English works the same way, but your fear makes you believe that it must be different. You try to build perfect sentences before you speak, and this habit slows you down. When you focus on simple words, your speed improves, your confidence increases, and your communication becomes more natural. This is not a small change. This is a powerful shift in how you use the language. Now imagine that you meet a foreigner and you want to start a conversation. Your mind may feel busy, but your words can stay simple. You can say hello, I am learning English, can we talk, or where are you from? These sentences are not difficult, but they are enough to begin. When the other person replies, you listen carefully and respond with what you understand. You do not need to understand every word. You only need to understand the main idea. When you reply, you can say, I understand a little, please speak slowly, or that sounds interesting. These simple expressions keep the conversation alive. There is something important happening when you use simple words. You are training your brain to think faster. When you try to use complex sentences, your brain needs more time to organize grammar and vocabulary. This delay creates hesitation, and hesitation increases fear. When you use simple words, your brain works quickly. You respond faster, and this speed creates flow. When you feel flow, your confidence grows, and when your confidence grows, your fear becomes smaller. You may worry that simple English will not sound impressive, but your goal is not to impress. Your goal is to connect. People remember how you made them feel, not how complex your sentences were. When you speak clearly and honestly, you create a real connection. That connection is more valuable than perfect grammar. When you focus on clarity instead of perfection, you free yourself from unnecessary pressure. You allow your natural voice to come out, and that voice becomes stronger with every conversation. There is also a practical method you can use to build your speaking ability with simple words. Start describing your daily life in English. When you wake up, say, I wake up early, I feel tired, I drink tea, or I check my phone. When you walk outside, say, I see people, I hear noise, I feel the wind, or I am going to work. These sentences are simple, but they train your brain to connect thoughts with English words. This daily practice builds a habit, and that habit makes speaking easier when you meet someone new. Another powerful method is to repeat useful sentences again and again until they feel natural. When you repeat phrases like "I am learning English," "I want to improve," "I need practice," or "I enjoy speaking," you create familiarity. Familiarity reduces fear because your brain recognizes the pattern. When you use these sentences in real conversations, they come out more easily. This is how repetition builds confidence. It turns effort into ease. At this stage, you must also accept something important. Your sentences will not always be correct, and that is completely fine. When you speak, your goal is to express your idea, not to pass a grammar test. If your sentence is not perfect but the other person understands you, you have succeeded. Every successful communication, even a small one, is progress. When you focus on communication instead of perfection, you start enjoying the process, and enjoyment makes learning faster. There will be moments when you feel stuck or confused, but these moments are part of growth. When you do not know a word, you can explain your idea using other simple words. For example, if you do not know the word for a specific object, you can describe it by saying it is something I use every day, it is small, or it helps me in my work. This skill is powerful because it keeps the conversation moving. It shows that you do not need perfect vocabulary to express yourself. As you continue using simple words, something beautiful begins to happen. Your sentences start to connect naturally. You move from one idea to another without fear. You begin to feel that English is not something separate from you. It becomes a part of your daily thinking. This transformation does not come from memorizing difficult words. It comes from using simple words again and again until they become natural. Right now, you are building the foundation of your speaking ability. This foundation is not made of complex grammar or advanced vocabulary. It is made of simple words used with confidence. When your foundation is strong, you can build more on top of it later. If you skip this step and try to jump to advanced English, your progress becomes unstable. That is why starting simple is not a weakness. It is a smart and powerful strategy. As you move forward, remember this clearly. Every fluent speaker you admire once started with simple words. They did not begin with perfect sentences. They began with small steps that they repeated every day. You are now taking those same steps. You are moving from silence to expression. You are turning your knowledge into action. And with every simple word you speak, you are getting closer to the confident speaker you want to become. This is not just practice. This is progress happening in real time. Chapter 4. Your first real conversation. There is a moment you have imagined many times, and it feels both exciting and uncomfortable at the same time. You are standing in front of a foreigner, or maybe sitting beside someone on a bus, or maybe you are in an online chat where English is the only language you can use. This is not practice in your room. This is real. Your heart beats a little faster, your mind becomes active, and you start thinking about what to say first. This is the moment that separates learning from living. This is where your English becomes real, and this is where your growth truly begins. You may think that your first real conversation must be perfect, but that idea creates pressure. Your first real conversation does not need to be perfect, it only needs to be real. You do not need long sentences or advanced words. You need courage to begin and simple language to continue. When you accept this, your body relaxes a little, and your mind becomes clearer. You are not trying to perform, you are trying to connect. Imagine yourself walking up to someone and saying hello. That single word may feel small, but it carries a lot of power. It shows that you are open, it shows that you are willing to try, and it invites the other person to respond. When they say hello back, the conversation begins. You can follow with something simple like "How are you?" or "Where are you from?" These questions are easy, but they open the door. The other person answers, and now you are no longer alone in your effort. You are part of a conversation. At this point, something important happens. You stop thinking only about yourself and start focusing on the other person. This shift is powerful because it reduces your fear. When you are only thinking about your mistakes, your fear grows. When you are listening to the other person, your attention moves outward, and your anxiety becomes smaller. You start to hear words you recognize. You begin to understand the main idea, even if you do not understand everything. This is how real communication works. It is not about understanding every word. It is about understanding enough to continue. You might feel a moment of confusion when the other person speaks quickly or uses unfamiliar words. This is normal, and it does not mean you are failing. This is where you use simple strategies that keep the conversation alive. You can say, "Please speak slowly," or "Can you repeat that?" These are not signs of weakness. They are signs of active communication. When you ask for help in a clear way, most people respond positively. They slow down, they repeat, and they make it easier for you. This creates a supportive environment where you can continue speaking. Now you respond again. You use the simple words you already know. You say, "I understand a little," or "That is interesting," or "I am learning English." Your sentences may not be perfect, but they are clear. The other person understands you, and that understanding gives you a small boost of confidence. That confidence helps you say the next sentence, and slowly the conversation grows. It may not be long, but it is real, and that is what matters. There is a moment in this conversation where you realize something important. You are doing it. You are speaking English with another person, and they understand you. This moment may feel small from the outside, but inside you it feels big. It is a breakthrough. It shows you that your fear was not as strong as you thought, and it proves that you are capable of more than you believed. This is the moment where your identity starts to change. You may still feel nervous, and that is completely fine. Confidence does not mean the absence of fear. Confidence means moving forward even when fear is present. As you continue the conversation, your nervousness slowly decreases because your brain sees that you are safe. You spoke, nothing bad happened, and the other person responded kindly. This experience teaches your brain a new lesson. Speaking is not dangerous. Speaking is possible. There will be moments when you pause because you cannot find the right word. Instead of stopping completely, you can use simple ways to continue. You can describe your idea using other words. You can say, "I do not know the word, but I can explain." This keeps the conversation moving and shows your effort. Communication is not about having every word. It is about finding a way to express your idea with what you have. As the conversation comes to an end, you may feel a sense of relief and pride at the same time. You started something that once felt impossible, and you completed it. Even if the conversation was short, it was real. That experience stays with you. It becomes a memory that you can return to when you feel afraid again. You can remind yourself that you have already done it once, and if you have done it once, you can do it again. This first real conversation is not just about speaking English. It is about proving something to yourself. It is about breaking a barrier that has been holding you back. It is about turning your knowledge into action. Once you cross this line, you cannot go back to being the same person. You have seen what is possible, and that vision will push you forward. From this point, every new conversation becomes a little easier. You remember the feeling of success, and that memory gives you strength. You begin to approach conversations with less fear and more curiosity. You start to enjoy the process instead of avoiding it. This shift changes everything. Learning becomes living, and English becomes a part of your real life. As you continue watching, you will learn how to handle mistakes, how to speak with more freedom, and how to build real confidence step by step. But right now, hold on to this idea. Your first real conversation does not require perfection. It requires courage, simplicity, and willingness to try. When you take that step, you begin a journey that leads to a stronger voice and a more confident version of yourself. This is where your English stops being a subject and starts becoming your experience. Chapter 5. Mistakes are your power. There is a belief that quietly controls your behavior every time you try to speak, and it sounds very reasonable on the surface. You tell yourself that you must avoid mistakes, because mistakes will make you look weak, or slow, or not intelligent enough. This belief feels safe, but it is actually the biggest reason you stay silent. When you try to protect yourself from mistakes, you also protect yourself from growth. You wait, you hold back, and you lose the chance to practice. This is why you must understand something very clearly. Mistakes are not your enemy. Mistakes are your power. Think about every skill you have ever learned in your life. When you learned to walk, you fell many times. When you learned to ride a bicycle, you lost balance again and again. When you learned anything new, you made errors before you improved. English works in exactly the same way, but your mind treats it differently. You expect yourself to speak correctly from the beginning, and when you cannot do that, you feel disappointed. This expectation is not realistic, and it creates pressure that stops you from trying. When you speak English, your brain is working in a new system. It is searching for words, building sentences, and trying to express ideas all at once. It cannot do all of this perfectly in the beginning. Mistakes are a natural part of this process, because your brain is learning through use. Every mistake shows you what needs to improve. If you avoid mistakes, you also avoid feedback, and without feedback, your progress becomes slow. This is why mistakes are not a problem. They are information that helps you grow. You may imagine that people will judge you when you make mistakes, but this fear is often bigger in your mind than in reality. Most people are focused on understanding you, not judging you. When you say something that is not perfect, they still try to catch your meaning. In many cases, they respect your effort because speaking a new language requires courage. When you allow yourself to speak freely, you often discover that the world is more supportive than you expected. There is a powerful shift that happens when you change your relationship with mistakes. Instead of feeling embarrassed, you start feeling curious. You notice what went wrong, and you try again. You learn faster because you are active, not passive. When you say a sentence and realize it could be better, your brain remembers that moment. The next time you speak, you adjust naturally. This is how real learning happens. It is not only through books or lessons, it is through experience. Imagine you are having a conversation and you make a mistake in your sentence. Instead of stopping completely, you continue speaking. You correct yourself if you can, or you move forward with your idea. The conversation does not break. The connection stays alive. This is very important because your goal is not to create perfect sentences. Your goal is to communicate. When communication continues, you are winning. Every moment you keep speaking, you are building confidence. There is also a deeper truth that you need to accept. Fluency is built on thousands of small mistakes. Every fluent speaker you see today has made many errors in the past. They did not become fluent by avoiding mistakes. They became fluent by making mistakes and learning from them. When you understand this, you stop comparing your beginning to someone else's middle. You start focusing on your own progress, and that focus gives you strength. You may still feel uncomfortable when you make a mistake, and that feeling is normal. Growth is not always comfortable. When you step outside your comfort zone, your mind reacts. It sends signals of fear or doubt. Instead of running away from these feelings, you learn to stay with them. You remind yourself that this discomfort is part of progress. Every time you stay in the moment and continue speaking, you become stronger. There is a simple practice that can help you build confidence with mistakes. After every conversation, take a moment to reflect. Think about what you said, what worked, and what you want to improve. Do not judge yourself harshly. Instead, treat it like a learning experience. You can even repeat the conversation in your mind and try to say the sentences again in a better way. This reflection turns your mistakes into lessons, and these lessons make your next conversation easier. Another important idea is to celebrate small wins. When you speak even one sentence clearly, that is progress. When someone understands you, that is success. When you try again after making a mistake, that is courage. These small moments build your confidence step by step. When you recognize them, you feel motivated to continue. When you ignore them, you only see your weaknesses and your confidence goes down. Your focus shapes your experience, so choose to see your progress. You are not here to be perfect. You are here to improve. When you give yourself permission to make mistakes, you remove the biggest barrier in your path. You stop holding yourself back, and you start moving forward. Your voice becomes more natural. Your sentences become clearer. Your confidence grows with every attempt. This is the journey that leads to real fluency. As you continue, remember that mistakes are not signs of failure. They are signs of action. They show that you are trying, that you are learning, and that you are growing. Every time you speak, you are building something inside yourself. That something is not just language ability, it is confidence, resilience, and courage. You have already taken important steps by reaching this point. You have faced your fear, you have started speaking, and now you are learning to accept mistakes. This is a powerful combination. It means you are moving in the right direction. It means you are becoming stronger with every chapter. And it means your voice is getting ready to come out with more confidence than ever before. Keep going, because the next step will help you speak more freely and think less. And that is where your real flow begins. Chapter 6. Think less, speak more. There is a quiet habit that controls your speaking more than you realize, and it feels intelligent, but it actually slows you down. You think before you speak, then you think again, and while you are thinking, your moment disappears. You search for the perfect word, you try to build a perfect sentence, and by the time you are ready, the conversation has already moved forward. This is not because you are not capable. It is because you are overusing your thinking when you should be using your voice. The goal is not to remove thinking completely. The goal is to reduce it so your words can come out naturally. When you learned your first language, you did not translate every sentence in your mind before speaking. You felt an idea, and you expressed it directly. That is how natural communication works. In English, you often try to translate from your native language into English, and this extra step creates delay. Your brain becomes busy with two languages at the same time, and this makes you slow and uncertain. When you begin to think directly in simple English, your speaking becomes faster and smoother. This shift may feel difficult at first, but it is one of the most important steps in your journey. Think about a simple situation. You want to say that you are tired. If you first think in your own language and then search for the English sentence, your mind becomes crowded. If you allow a direct idea like, I feel tired to come out, your speech becomes quick and clear. This is the difference between translating and thinking in English. One creates pressure and delay. The other creates flow and confidence. When you choose the second path, your speaking starts to feel more natural. You may feel that you cannot think in English yet, but you can start with very simple ideas. You do not need long sentences. You only need small thoughts that you can express quickly. When you look around, you can say, I see a car, I hear a sound, or I feel cold. These are simple ideas, but they train your brain to connect thoughts directly with English words. This practice may seem small, but it builds a powerful habit over time. Your brain begins to respond in English without needing translation. Overthinking often comes from the desire to be perfect. You want your sentence to be correct before you say it, but this desire creates hesitation. When you accept that your sentence does not need to be perfect, your mind becomes lighter. You give yourself permission to speak quickly, even if your grammar is not perfect. This permission is important because it allows your natural voice to come out. When your voice comes out more often, your improvement becomes faster. There is a powerful feeling that comes when you speak without overthinking. It feels like your words are flowing instead of being forced. This flow does not happen in one moment. It grows slowly as you practice speaking in a simple and direct way. Every time you choose to speak instead of waiting, you strengthen this flow. Every time you reduce your thinking, you increase your confidence. This balance is what creates real progress. Imagine you are in a conversation, and you feel the urge to stop and think. Instead of stopping completely, you say something simple while your mind is still working. You can say, let me think, or I am not sure but I will try. These small expressions keep the conversation alive and give you time to continue. They also show the other person that you are engaged and willing to communicate. This keeps the connection strong and reduces your pressure. There will be moments when your mind becomes blank, and this is a normal part of speaking. When this happens, you do not need to panic. You can return to simple ideas and build from there. You can repeat a part of the question or express your basic thought. This brings you back into the conversation and helps your mind restart. The important thing is to keep your voice active, because your voice leads your thinking forward. Another way to reduce overthinking is to practice speaking in short bursts. Instead of trying to say everything in one long sentence, you break your idea into smaller parts. You say one thought, then another, and then another. This makes your speech easier and clearer. It also reduces the pressure on your brain because you are handling one idea at a time. When you use this method, your speaking becomes more natural and less stressful. You may notice that when you speak less perfectly but more freely, people still understand you. This is an important discovery. It shows you that communication does not require perfection. It requires clarity and confidence. When you focus on being clear instead of being perfect, your fear decreases and your ability increases. This shift changes the way you approach every conversation. There is also a mental habit that you can build to support this change. Before speaking, remind yourself that your goal is to express, not to impress. This simple reminder changes your mindset. You stop trying to sound advanced, and you start trying to be understood. When your goal becomes clear, your actions follow naturally. You speak more, you hesitate less, and you grow faster. As you continue practicing this approach, your brain begins to trust you more. It sees that you are using English in real situations, and it becomes more comfortable with the language. This comfort reduces your fear and increases your speed. You start to feel that English is not something you have to think about deeply. It becomes something you can use naturally. Right now, you are building a new way of speaking. You are moving from slow and careful thinking to faster and more natural expression. This transition may feel challenging, but it is also exciting. It shows that you are growing beyond your old habits and stepping into a new level of confidence. Remember that every time you choose to speak without overthinking, you are training your brain to respond better. You are creating a habit that supports your growth. You are moving closer to a point where speaking feels easy and natural. This is not a distant dream. It is a process that you are already part of. Keep moving forward, because the next step will help you bring this practice into your daily life and turn it into a consistent habit that builds your fluency every single day. Chapter 7. Real-life practice method. There is a question that quietly stops many learners from moving forward, and it sounds very practical on the surface. You tell yourself that you do not have anyone to practice English with, so you wait for the right person, the right place, or the right moment. While you are waiting, your progress slows down and your confidence begins to fade. This is not because you are lazy or careless. It is because you believe that practice only happens when another person is present. The truth is very different. Real practice can happen anywhere, anytime, and it begins with you. You already have everything you need to start speaking more every day. You have your voice, you have your thoughts, you have your daily life. These three things are enough to build powerful speaking habits. When you understand this, you stop waiting for external opportunities and you start creating your own. This shift is important because it gives you control. You are no longer dependent on others for your progress. You become active in your learning, and this activity builds confidence. Think about your daily routine. From the moment you wake up, your day is full of actions and experiences. You get out of bed, you look around, you prepare your day, and you move through different situations. Every one of these moments can become a chance to practice English. When you wake up, you can say, "I wake up early," or "I feel sleepy today." When you go to the kitchen, you can say, "I am making tea," or "I am eating breakfast." These sentences are simple, but they connect your real life with English. This connection is powerful because it makes the language meaningful. When you speak about your own life, your words become easier to remember. You are not repeating random sentences. You are expressing real thoughts that belong to you. This makes your practice natural and engaging. Your brain understands that English is not just a subject. It becomes a tool you use to describe your world. When this happens, your confidence starts growing because the language feels closer to you. Another strong method is to create small conversations with yourself. You can imagine a situation where you meet a foreigner and start speaking. You can ask yourself questions and answer them in English. You can say, "Where are you from? What do you do?" Or, "Why are you learning English?" And then you respond with your own answers. This may feel strange at first, but it is one of the most effective ways to prepare for real conversations. It gives you practice without pressure, and it helps your mind become familiar with common patterns. As you continue this practice, something interesting begins to happen. Your mind starts responding faster. You do not need to think as much because you have already practiced similar sentences. This creates a sense of readiness. When you finally meet a real person, your brain recognizes the situation, and reacts more naturally. You feel less nervous because you have already experienced the moment in your practice. You can also use your surroundings as a teacher. When you go outside, you can describe what you see in English. You can say, "I see people walking," "I hear cars," or "I feel the wind." This exercise trains your brain to observe and express at the same time. It builds a habit of thinking in English while you are active. This habit is very important because it connects your language with real experiences. Sometimes, you may feel that this kind of practice is not enough because it is not a real conversation. This thought can reduce your motivation, but it is not true. This practice is building your foundation. It is preparing your mind to respond quickly and confidently. When you combine this with real conversations later, your progress becomes much faster. Without this foundation, real conversations can feel overwhelming. With this foundation, they become manageable and even enjoyable. Consistency is the key that turns this method into real results. When you practice for a few minutes every day, you create a strong habit. This habit becomes part of your routine, and you no longer need to force yourself. You speak because it feels natural. Even a short daily practice can create a big change over time. What matters is not the length of your practice. What matters is that you keep going without stopping. There will be days when you feel less motivated, and that is completely normal. On those days, you can reduce your effort, but do not stop completely. You can speak for 1 minute, or repeat a few simple sentences. This keeps your habit alive and prevents you from going back to silence. Progress is not about being perfect every day. It is about staying consistent even when your energy is low. You may also notice that your confidence grows slowly through this process. At first, your voice may feel uncertain, but with repetition it becomes stronger. You start speaking with more clarity and less hesitation. You begin to trust your ability, and this trust changes your behavior. You become more willing to speak in real situations because you know that you have practiced. There is a powerful idea that you must remember. Practice is not something separate from your life. Practice is part of your life. When you bring English into your daily routine, you remove the barrier between learning and living. You no longer wait for special moments. Every moment becomes useful. This is how you create continuous improvement. As you continue building this habit, you will see that your speaking becomes more natural. Your thoughts connect with words more easily. Your fear becomes smaller because your experience becomes bigger. You move from being a learner who studies English to a person who uses English every day. This transformation is not sudden, but it is steady and real. You are now creating a system that supports your growth. You are taking control of your learning. You are building confidence through action. This is a powerful place to be, and it prepares you for the next step where repetition will strengthen everything you have started and turn your effort into automatic skill. Chapter 8. Confidence through repetition. There is a simple truth that many learners ignore because it does not look exciting at first, yet it has the power to change everything about your speaking. Confidence is not something you wait for. Confidence is something you build, and one of the strongest ways to build it is through repetition. You may feel that repeating the same sentences again and again is boring, but what feels boring in the beginning becomes powerful over time. Repetition turns effort into ease, and it turns hesitation into flow. Think about the first time you tried to say a new sentence in English. Your voice may have felt slow, your pronunciation may have been uncertain, and your mind may have been busy checking every word. Now imagine saying that same sentence 10 times, then 20 times, and then many more times. Something begins to change. Your mouth moves more smoothly. Your mind becomes calmer. The sentence comes out faster. This is not magic. This is repetition working in your favor. When you repeat a sentence, you are not just saying words. You are training your brain and your mouth to work together. At first, your brain gives instructions slowly because the pattern is new. With repetition, the pattern becomes familiar. Your brain no longer needs to work as hard, and your mouth follows naturally. This creates automatic speaking. When your speaking becomes automatic, your confidence grows because you no longer feel lost in the moment. You may wonder what kind of sentences you should repeat. The answer is simple. Use sentences that are useful in real life. Sentences like, I am learning English. I want to improve. I feel nervous, but I will try. Or, can you speak slowly, are not just words. They are tools that help you in real conversations. When you repeat these sentences many times, they become part of your natural speech. When you need them, they come out without struggle. There is also an emotional benefit that comes with repetition. When you say a sentence again and again, your fear starts to decrease. The sentence becomes familiar, and familiarity creates comfort. When you feel comfortable with your words, you feel more confident using them with other people. This is why repetition is not only about memory, it is also about emotion. It changes how you feel when you speak. You can use repetition in many ways during your daily practice. When you learn a new sentence, say it aloud several times. Change a few words, and say it again. For example, you can say I like this place, then say I like this food, then say I like this idea. This small variation keeps your practice interesting and helps your brain understand how to use patterns in different situations. It also makes your speaking more flexible. Another powerful method is shadowing. You listen to a sentence and repeat it immediately with the same rhythm and tone. This trains your pronunciation and your listening at the same time. At first, you may feel that it is difficult to keep up, but with practice, your speed improves. Your mouth becomes more comfortable with English sounds, and your confidence increases because you feel more natural when you speak. You may feel that repeating sentences alone will not help you in real conversations, but this is not true. Repetition prepares you for real moments. When you meet a foreigner and need to speak, your brain looks for familiar patterns. If you have repeated useful sentences many times, your brain finds them quickly. You respond faster, and this speed makes you feel more confident. Without repetition, your brain searches for words slowly, and this creates hesitation. There is also something important you must remember. Repetition does not mean repeating without thinking. You should stay aware of what you are saying. Feel the meaning of the sentence. Imagine using it in a real situation. When you connect repetition with meaning, your learning becomes deeper. You are not just memorizing words. You are building understanding and confidence together. Sometimes you may feel tired of repeating the same sentences, and this feeling is normal. On those days, you can change your approach. You can create a short story using your repeated sentences. You can speak to yourself in a new way. You can imagine a different situation and use the same patterns. This keeps your practice fresh while still giving you the benefits of repetition. As you continue using repetition, you will notice a gradual change in your speaking. Your voice becomes clearer, your sentences become smoother, your hesitation becomes smaller. You begin to trust your ability because you have practiced enough to feel ready. This trust is the beginning of real confidence. It is not based on hope, it is based on experience. You are building something strong with every repetition. You are turning your knowledge into skill. You are turning your fear into familiarity. You are turning your effort into confidence. This process may not feel fast, but it is steady, and steady progress creates lasting results. Imagine yourself in a conversation where you speak without stopping too much. Your sentences flow, Your voice feels stable. You understand more, and you respond more easily. This moment is not far away. It is being built right now with every sentence you repeat. Every time you practice, you are moving closer to this version of yourself. You are not just learning English. You are training your mind and your voice to work together. You are creating a habit that supports your growth. When this habit becomes strong, your speaking becomes natural. This is the power of repetition, and this is the step that prepares you for speaking without fear in real situations. Keep going, because the next stage will help you bring all of this together and use it with confidence in real conversations, where your voice becomes stronger than your fear. Chapter 9. Talking without fear. Now, there comes a moment in your journey when something begins to shift inside you, and it may not be loud or dramatic, but it is real and powerful. You start to realize that fear is still there, yet it is no longer controlling your actions. You feel the nervous energy in your body, but you also feel a new strength rising with it. This is the moment where you begin to speak not because you are fearless, but because you are ready. You are ready to move forward even when your heart is beating faster. You are ready to express yourself, even when your mind feels uncertain. This is where real confidence begins. For a long time, you may have believed that one day fear will disappear, and then you will start speaking freely. That day never comes in the way you imagine. Fear does not disappear before action. Fear becomes smaller after action. Every time you speak, even with hesitation, you are proving to yourself that you can handle the moment. This proof is more powerful than any lesson or any theory. It is real experience, and real experience changes your belief about yourself. Think about how far you have already come. You understand more English than before. You have practiced simple sentences. You have learned to accept mistakes. You have reduced overthinking. You have built daily habits and used repetition to strengthen your voice. All of these steps have prepared you for this moment. You are no longer at the beginning. You are standing at a point where you can act with more confidence than ever before. Now imagine yourself in a real conversation again. This time, something feels different. You still feel a little nervous, but you do not stop. You say hello. You ask a simple question. You listen. You respond. Your sentences may not be perfect, but they are clear. The other person understands you, and this understanding gives you energy. You continue speaking. The conversation flows, not perfectly, but naturally. This is the result of everything you have been building. There will still be moments when you feel a pause or a small fear rising, but now you know how to handle it. You return to simple words. You use familiar sentences. You keep your voice active. You remind yourself that your goal is communication, not perfection. This awareness keeps you moving forward. It stops fear from taking control. It allows you to stay present in the conversation. One of the most powerful changes at this stage is how you see yourself. Before, you saw yourself as someone who cannot speak English well. Now, you begin to see yourself as someone who is learning and improving every day. This change in identity is very important. When you see yourself differently, your actions follow that belief. You become more willing to speak. You take more chances. You grow faster. There is also a new feeling that starts to appear. It is a sense of curiosity. Instead of focusing only on your fear, you start focusing on the person you are talking to. You become interested in their story, their culture, and their experiences. This curiosity makes the conversation more natural. It takes your attention away from your own mistakes and places it on real connection. When you are curious, you ask more questions. When you ask more questions, the conversation becomes easier. You may notice that people respond positively when you speak with honesty and effort. They do not expect perfection from you. They appreciate your attempt to communicate. This positive response strengthens your confidence. It shows you that your fear was not as big as you thought. It also shows you that communication is about connection, not perfection. At this stage, your progress becomes visible. You speak more often. You hesitate less. You understand more. You feel more comfortable in situations that once felt difficult. This progress may not feel perfect, but it is real. It is the result of your effort, your practice, and your decision to keep going. There is something important you must continue doing. Keep taking small actions. Do not wait for a perfect moment. Do not wait to feel completely confident. Speak with what you have. Use your simple sentences. Accept your mistakes. Keep your voice active. These small actions create big results over time. They build a habit of speaking, and that habit becomes your strength. You are no longer the person who stays silent because of fear. You are becoming the person who speaks despite fear. This is a powerful transformation. It shows that you are in control of your actions. It shows that you are moving forward with courage. It shows that you are growing in a real and meaningful way. As you continue this journey, you will find that fear becomes less important. It may still appear sometimes, but it does not stop you anymore. You have learned how to move through it. You have learned how to focus on communication. You have learned how to trust yourself. These lessons stay with you, and they make your future conversations easier. Now you are standing at a new level. You are ready to take the final step where your identity as a speaker becomes strong and stable. This is where everything comes together. This is where you stop seeing yourself as a learner who is trying and start seeing yourself as a speaker who is growing every day. Chapter 10. Your New Speaking Identity.
Where are we?
There is a quiet but powerful moment that happens at the end of a journey like this, and it is not loud or dramatic, yet it changes everything about how you see yourself. You look back and realize that you are not the same person who started this path. At the beginning, you felt stuck. You felt nervous. You felt unsure of your voice. Now something inside you feels different. You still have things to learn, but you no longer feel silent. You no longer feel blocked. You feel ready. This is not just progress. This is transformation. For a long time, you may have carried a label in your mind that said you are not good at speaking English. This label affected your actions, your confidence, and your choices. Every time you avoided a conversation, that label became stronger. Every time you stayed silent, it felt more real. But now you have new experiences. You have spoken. You have tried. You have made mistakes and continued. These experiences are stronger than any label, and they are helping you build a new identity. This new identity is not about being perfect. It is about being active. You are becoming someone who speaks, someone who tries, someone who grows. When you see yourself in this way, your actions change naturally. You stop waiting for permission. You stop looking for the perfect moment. You begin to create opportunities. You speak when you feel nervous. You express your ideas even when they are simple. You move forward with confidence because you trust your ability to improve. Think about how powerful this shift is. Before, you were asking yourself if you can speak English. Now you are telling yourself that you are someone who is learning to speak every day. This change in thinking removes pressure and creates motivation. It allows you to enjoy the process instead of fearing it. It turns your journey into something positive and meaningful. There will still be moments when you feel unsure, and that is completely normal. Growth does not remove every doubt. It teaches you how to handle it. When you feel uncertain, you remember what you have learned. You return to simple sentences. You trust your practice. You keep your voice active. This consistency keeps you moving forward, and it prevents you from going back to old habits. One of the most important things you can do now is to protect this new identity. Do not let negative thoughts take control again. When your mind says you are not good enough, you remind yourself of your progress. When your mind tells you to stay silent, you choose to speak. These small decisions protect your growth and strengthen your confidence. Over time, they become natural, and your new identity becomes stable. You are no longer learning English in a passive way. You are living it. You are using it in real situations. You are connecting with people. This is the true purpose of language. It is not only about words and rules. It is about communication and connection. When you understand this, your motivation becomes stronger because you see the real value of your effort. There is also a responsibility that comes with this new identity. You must continue practicing. You must keep speaking. You must keep improving. Growth does not stop when you reach a certain level. It continues as long as you stay active. The good news is that this process becomes easier with time. What once felt difficult becomes normal. What once felt impossible becomes part of your routine. Imagine your future self. You are speaking English with more confidence. You are having longer conversations. You are understanding more and responding more easily. This future is not far away. It is being built with every step you take today. Every sentence you speak, every mistake you accept, and every moment you practice is shaping that future. And your memshire. You are also becoming an example for others. When people see your progress, they feel inspired. They see that improvement is possible. They see that fear can be overcome. Your journey can motivate someone else to start their own. This is a powerful impact, and it begins with your decision to keep going. Now, take a moment to appreciate what you have done. You have faced your fear. You have taken action. You have built habits. You have changed your mindset. These are not small achievements. They are strong steps that show your commitment to growth. When you recognize this, you feel proud, and that pride gives you more energy to continue. As you move forward, keep your approach simple and consistent. Speak every day, even if it is for a few minutes. Use the words you know. Stay open to learning. Stay willing to make mistakes. Keep your focus on communication. These simple actions will continue to build your confidence and improve your ability. And you are not waiting for confidence anymore. You are creating it. You are not avoiding conversations anymore. You are entering them. You are not hiding your voice anymore. You are using it. This is your new speaking identity, and it is something you have built through effort and courage. This journey does not end here. It continues with every conversation you have, with every person you meet, and with every new experience you create. You are ready for this path, and you have everything you need to keep growing. Now it is your time to step forward with confidence and use your voice in the real world. If you have stayed till this moment, then something inside you has already started to change. You are no longer the person who feels silent and afraid. You are becoming someone who can speak, express, and connect with the world. Remember, confidence does not come from waiting. It comes from speaking, trying, and growing every single day. Keep using your voice, keep practicing, and keep believing in your progress, because your journey has just begun and something even greater is waiting for you ahead. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video.